The Arizona Supreme Court has ruled that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, that's Mormons, can refuse to answer questions or turn over documents under a state law that exempts religious officials from having to report child sex abuse. If they learn of the crime during a confessional setting. That's great. Love that specific state law, by the way. That's great. Wonder who lobbied for that law when that got put out. Oh yeah, this has always been a thing. Yeah, and it's not good, in my personal opinion. I think that the standard should be the case, with it's the same as like with teachers or whatever, right? Or with therapists. If you say to a therapist, I feel bad because I shoplifted, that's a crime, but they don't have to report you for that. However, if you say to a therapist, planning to hurt someone, hurt some kids, whatever, therapist has to report that because you're indicating there's a threat of you hurting people in the future. The laws on disclosure are a bit more specific than that. I'm not an expert on them, but I gotta say, I really don't like the sentence, state law that exempts religious officials from having to report child abuse if they learn of the crime during a confessional setting. I don't like that sentence. I'm not a fan of that sentence. I don't think it's a great sentence. It's not the best sentence I've ever read. It's actually probably pretty close to one of the worst sentences I've ever read. I just don't like it. The ruling was issued April 7th, but not released to the public till Tuesday. Wonder why they took a while to release that ruling. That happened 2 months ago. A lawsuit filed by child sex abuse victims accuses the church, widely known as the Mormon Church, 2 of its bishops and other church members, of conspiracy and negligence in not reporting church member Paul Adams for abusing his older daughter as early as 2010. This negligence, the lawsuit argues, allowed Adams to continue abusing the girl for as many as 7 years, a time in which he also abused the girl's infant sister. Lynn Cadigan, an attorney for the Adams children who filed the lawsuit, criticized the court's ruling. Unfortunately, this ruling expands the clergy privilege beyond what the legislature intended by allowing churches to conceal crimes against children. You're not going to believe this, guys. In a statement, the church concurred with the court's action. You're not going to believe it. They agreed. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints agrees with the Arizona Supreme Court decision. By the way, you're not going to hear a word of this from conservative media because conservative media does not care about children being raped. They like children being raped. The Mormon Church is incredibly conservative and has a lot of power in the states that it heavily represents. It is an overwhelmingly conservative organization. You really do not hear about like progressive liberal Mormons for the most part. That's just not much of a thing. And conservatives will not talk about this, even though this is an institution legally entrenching itself in systems that allow it to cover up child abuse. Nothing like this has ever happened at drag shows. Nothing like this will ever happen at drag shows because drag shows are not ultra-powerful, multi-billion-dollar like religious organizations that control local government. But you'll not hear about it. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints agrees with the Arizona Supreme Court decision, the statement said. We are deeply saddened by the abuse these children suffer. The church has no tolerance of abuse of any kind. Wow, great. Adams had also posted videos of himself sexually abusing his daughters on the internet. Oh. Boasted of the abuse on social media and confessed to federal law enforcement agents who arrested him in 2017 with no help from the church. Who could have known? These actions prompted Cochise County Superior Court Judge Laura Cardinal to rule on August 8, 2022, that Adams had waived his right to keep his 2010 confession to Bishop John Herod secret. Taken together, Adams' overt acts demonstrate a lack of repentance and a profound disregard for the principles of the church, Cardinal said in her ruling. His acts can only be characterized as a waiver of the clergy penitent privilege. Clergy in Arizona, as in many other states, are required to report information about child sexual abuse or neglect to law enforcement or child welfare authorities. An exception to that law, known as the clergy penitent privilege, allows members of the clergy who learn of the abuse through spiritual confessions to keep the information secret. So this is historically been one of the ways that like the Catholic Church as well has done this like disclosure of information. But because they're all like raping kids, right? And the way they like tell each other is like through in the secret magic box where they can confess to it. without like opening themselves up to legal liability for not disclosing. So for many Catholic churches, if you ever go inside like the confessional box or whatever, you're inside the magic box that pedophiles use to talk to each other. It's the secret magical pedophile telephone that they use to communicate. I'm not even exaggerating. The church has based its defense in the lawsuit on the privilege, asserting that Herod and a second bishop who learned of Adam's confession, Robert Kim Mosey, had no legal obligation for abusing to report him for abusing his older daughter and appealed Cardinal's ruling. The Church of Appeals ruled in favor of the Court of Appeals ruled in favor of the church, saying it did not have to turn over disciplinary records for Adams, who was excommunicated in 2013. So they excommunicated this guy years before he was arrested by the feds, and even in excommunicating him, they did not disclose this information. So even after rejecting him from the church for raping so many children, they were still like, I can keep it between us, whatever. Now that he's out of the church, he's not a legal liability for us. They didn't actually mind him abusing children. You're acting like he was excommunicated because he raped children. Oh, well, my guess would be that he was excommunicated because they knew that if he stayed in the church, he would eventually be like an optics risk if it was found out when he was in the church. The appeals court also ruled that a church official who attended a church disciplinary hearing could refuse to answer questions from the plaintiff's attorneys during pretrial testimony based on clergy penitent privilege. So yeah, the clergy penitent privilege is so strong that not only do you not have to disclose that information if it's said in the pedophile box, but also when being questioned by attorneys during pretrial testimony, you can stay quiet about it. So this isn't just privilege in the sense of like you don't have to turn over the info. It's privilege in the sense that there are like ironclad legal rules that cement that information and lock it away in the special like pedophile box where it can't hurt the pedophile legally. Lawyers representing the Adams girls and one of their brothers took the case to the Arizona Supreme Court, where they did not prevail according to the April ruling. An unusual move. Said attorneys for the three Adams children tend to file a motion asking the Supreme Court to reconsider its ruling. An Associated Press investigation of the clergy privilege shows it exists in 33 states, and the Mormon Church, often joined by the Catholic Church, Jehovah's Witnesses, and other faiths, have successfully lobbied against attempts to reform or eliminate it. Cool. I guess this wouldn't affect Protestants very much because Protestants don't have a secret pedophile box. Protestants just have a community rec center basement for them to like stack folding chairs in so they can listen to like local suburban mom talk. Maybe one out of every like 6 potential church visits. Mormons are Protestants? Okay. Yeah, they're not Catholics, but they're obviously not what people refer to when they talk Protestants. Jehovah's Witnesses and Mormons are separate categories. If by Protestant you mean any non-Catholic, then like, yeah, they're not Catholic, but what do you call Protestants? Well, Protestants sometimes I've heard people say like just non-Catholic, and sometimes it's like this specific group of like Americanized, or like you have like the Anglican Church and you have like the Southern Baptist. There's a million types of Protestants. Mormons are insane. Yeah. Can we agree that even if they're not, okay, like they're spiritually evangelicals? You keep talking about confessional booths, but Mormons don't have confessional booths. Well, Mormons have their own special pedophile box. It's just they have in Sharpie written on it pedophile box, and it's a big cardboard box they have in their churches, and you just go in there to talk about being pedophiles, and then you're legally protected. Yeah, they just sit in there like every day because they've got so much to talk about in there, Mormon leaders are basically Nazis. Well, Mormonism is just like white supremacy and American exceptionalism as a religion. If you want to like learn anything about like weirdo American religious cults, then you should probably look into the YouTube channel Knowing Better, who probably has the best YouTube videos on the subject, like at all. Yeah. Aren't half your CIA handlers Mormons? There were a weird number of Mormons in the CIA. They kind of infiltrated the CIA because they were deliberately trying to keep, some hold of the administrative state. They're just a bunch of, like, Mormon dudes in black ties and white shirts doing LSD in a room together. No, the FBI and CIA specifically recruit Mormons. Really? Oh, okay, I'd have to look more into that. Tell chat how Mormons think black people came to be, Pepe La. I'm going to let them do that research on their own. Watch the Knowing Better videos, folks. The Mormon church had to be threatened into desegregating by the federal government. Mormons have good language skills because of all the foreign ministry work. Oh, do you think maybe like Mormons' special underwear is also like bulletproof? Do you think it's like, oh yeah, Mormons are like a good bet because we can like, you know, that we can give them like an extra layer to stay safe? Yeah, the magic underwear they wear. They believe it is Lamau. Yeah, okay. No, it's demon proof though. Yeah, but you could make it bullet and demon proof. The what? The underwear. You know about soaking, right? Yeah, soaking is the thing. I think it's not just Mormons who do this. There are like some, it's just like a weirdo religion thing or whatever. But it's when like, okay, you can't have premarital sex. But what if your dick accidentally slips in and then somebody else jumps on the bed so that the vibrations from the mattress bouncing cause your dick to go in and out a little bit, but you're not having sex technically because you're not thrusting, and it's called soaking. Religious people are so weird. Vosh, that's kinky as yeah, unironically, right? Like it's like, oh, these hedonistic degenerate sodomite seculars or whatever. It's like, well, no, you do soaking, okay? That's a threesome. In kink, it's cock warming. Oh, okay. See, that's the non-Mormon term. Gotcha. Great. Okay, moving on. God almighty.